The pilot comes on the PA. Flew safe for 30 years. This is my last flight before I retire. The guy in the seat ahead of me is on the phone. After 10 years long distance, I'm finally going home to get married. The guy next to me whispers, I've discovered a cure for cancer. Going to announce it when we land. The guy in the back row clutches a photo. 5 years undercover is over. I'm going home to my daughter. The woman across the aisle mutters, I buy flight insurance every single time. I forgot today. What are the odds it matters? Just this once. I figure I'd better hedge my own bets. I text my best friend, I'm in love with you. My phone buzzes back instantly. I've been waiting 10 years for you to say that. Okay, first of all, let's be rational. Let's trust science. Second of all, I need to get off this plane. And I don't care if Jesus himself is blocking the exit. 1. I'm in 17A, the window seat. The plane is taxiing, and the captain's voice crackles through the speakers, staticky like an old radio. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, Frank Miller. I've had 30 years of safe flying, and this is my final flight before retirement. The man next to me suddenly leans in, his voice a low, urgent whisper. You know, I've developed a cure for cancer. I'm going to announce it the second we land. I turn to look at him. His face is flushed, his eyes shot with red veins. He's about 50, wearing a rumpled suit and clutching a black briefcase to his chest as if it's a vital organ. Congratulations, I say. 10 years. A woman's sob breaks the air from the row ahead. She's speaking into her phone. 10 years long distance. And I'm finally going home to get married. The flight attendant pushes the beverage cart down the aisle. When her fingers brush my arm, they're as cold as frozen meat from a deep freezer. I look up at her. She gives me a standard issue, 8-tooth smile, but her eyes don't crinkle at the corners. It's a stiff, plastic expression. Sir, anything to drink? She asks. Just water, thanks. She hands me the paper cup. The water inside is lukewarm, but the outside of the cup is beaded with condensation, unnaturally cold. The plane begins to accelerate, the wheels leaving the tarmac. I look out the window as the city shrinks below, becoming a miniature model of itself. The clouds roll in a blinding white, and then I see the face. In the clouds, the vague outline of a human face, its eyes two empty sockets, its mouth agape. I blink hard, but it's still there. What are you looking at? Asks the scientist next to me. In the clouds. I think there's something in the clouds. He leans over to the window, squints for a few seconds, and shrugs. Just clouds. But I know it wasn't a hallucination. The face is moving, its mouth opening and closing as if it's trying to say something. I try to read its lips, if you can call them that. It seems to be repeating one word. Escape. A sudden, sharp panic seizes me. My seatbelt feels too tight, the air too thin. I look around the cabin and realize it's unnervingly quiet. No crying babies. No hushed conversations. Even the roar of the engines seems to have been swallowed by a vacuum. The woman in front is still on her phone, but her voice has become a flat, robotic loop. I'm getting married, I'm getting married, I'm getting married. The scientist opens his briefcase. I catch a glimpse inside. It's filled with a stack of blank white paper. Not a single word on any of it. Wait, I say. Where's your research? He looks at me, his expression vacant. What research? The cure for cancer. Oh, that? He says, and a smile stretches his lips ear to ear. That'll be there when we land. Everything will be there when we land. The PA crackles again. This time it's the co-pilot, his voice impossibly young. We're about to experience some turbulence. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened. But outside the window, the sky is perfectly clear. The plane lurches into a nosedive. The feeling of weightlessness sends my stomach into my throat. Screams erupt. Oxygen masks drop from the ceiling. The scientist clutches his blank papers, whimpering like a child. The phone of the woman in front clatters to the floor, the screen still lit. It shows the contact name My Fiancé, but there's no call log. She was on the phone at all. The cabin begins to twist. I mean, it literally twists. The ceiling caves inward, the floor buckles upward, as if something enormous is squeezing the fuselage from the outside. The cloud face presses against my window, its entire form covering the glass, its empty eye sockets staring directly at me. And then I see it. Every single passenger turns their head to look at me. Their expressions are identical. mouths curved upward at a perfect 30-degree angle, eyes wide and round, pupils shrunk to pinpricks. A cabin full of uniform smiles. The scientist turns, wearing that same smile. The flight attendant, standing at the end of the aisle, smiles. The woman in the row ahead turns, smiling. 200 identical smiles, watching me in silence as the plane plummets. The aircraft hits the ground at a 45-degree angle. Fire, pain, darkness. 2. I gasp, a sharp, ragged intake of breath like a drowning man breaking the surface. The seatbelt is cinched across my waist. Outside the window, the airport terminal is slowly receding. The captain's scratchy voice comes over the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, Frank Miller. I've had 30 years of safe flying, and this is my final flight before retirement. The man next to me leans in, his voice a low whisper. You know, I've developed a cure for cancer. I'm going to announce it the second we land. I look down at my hands. They're fine. No burns, no broken bones. I touch my face. The skin is smooth. My heart is hammering against my ribs, the sound of my own blood roaring in my ears. I survived. No, I'm back. Are you all right? The scientist asks. You're white as a sheet. I don't know what to say. The memory of the crash is so vivid. The searing heat of the fire, the sound of my own bones snapping, those smiling faces. I stare at the briefcase in his lap. Last time, it was full of blank paper. What about this time? Can I see your research? I ask, my voice trembling. He clutches the briefcase tighter, his eyes wary. It'll be announced when we land. Just a peek. No. He turns away, looking out the window. The plane begins its taxi. I scan the cabin frantically, looking for anything out of place. The woman in front of me takes out her phone, hesitates, then puts it away without dialing. Across the aisle, a tough-looking guy is repeatedly checking an insurance policy. I catch the header. Accidental death and dismemberment. Air travel. With an unfamiliar name listed as the beneficiary. The flight attendant arrives with the beverage cart. It's the same one, with the same 8-2 smile and the same ice-cold fingers. This time, I notice her name tag, Jessica, but the corner of the tag is faded, like it's been wiped clean thousands of times. Sir, anything to drink? The same question. Is this flight safe? I ask. Her smile doesn't falter. Our captain has 30 years of safe flying experience. I'm not asking about the captain. I'm asking about this plane. Her left eyeball twitches, a movement of a single millimeter. It's almost imperceptible, but I see it. Then she says, all our aircraft undergo rigorous safety inspections. What would you like to drink? Water. The same lukewarm water, the same freezing cold cup. We take off. I stare out the window as we ascend into the clouds. This time, I don't see the face. But the clouds themselves are strange. Not natural-looking cumulus or cirrus, but tangled, cottony clumps, completely motionless. Look, the scientist says suddenly, pointing out the window. Doesn't that look like the folds of a brain? I follow his finger. He's right. The patterns in the clouds look exactly like the sulci and gyri of a massive cerebral cortex. A crazy thought flashes through my mind. We're flying through a giant brain made of sky. Do you research brain cancer? I ask him. He blinks. What? No, I work with targeted drug therapies. But you said you could cure cancer. All cancer, he says vaguely, hugging his briefcase again. The minutes tick by. The flight is unnervingly smooth. Last time, the crash happened about 40 minutes after takeoff. I watch the second hand on my watch sweep around the dial. 35 minutes. All the passengers are quiet. Too quiet. No kids crying, no loud talkers. Just the low hum of the engines and the faint hiss of the cabin air. The woman in front of me finally makes a call. Hello. Her voice is soft. It's me. We took off. Yeah, we'll be there in 5 hours. Are you going to be there to pick me up? A pause. The ring? I'm wearing it. She lifts her left hand. A thin silver band sits on her ring finger, but looks old and scratched. Whatever is said on the other end makes her face freeze. What do you mean? What do you mean you need to rethink things? We've already. A much longer pause. Her lips begin to tremble. 10 years, her voice chokes. I waited for you for 10 years, and now you want to rethink things. I try to look away, to give her privacy. But I hear her final words, barely a whisper. What if I don't make it? What if this plane never lands? She hangs up. 38 minutes. The scientist is getting fidgety. He opens his briefcase. I watch him like a hawk and pulls out a stack of papers. This time, they aren't blank. There's writing on them, but I can't make it out. Can I see that? I ask. No. He snaps the briefcase shut. Why not? Because his eyes dart around. Because the patent isn't filed yet. Someone could steal it. Who's going to steal your patent on a plane? He scans the cabin, then lowers his voice. Anyone, everyone on this plane is a thief. A chill runs down my spine. 40 minutes. The sudden feeling of weightlessness. It's happening again. Oxygen masks drop. Screams fill the air. But this time, I don't panic. I observe. The scientist is clutching his briefcase, but he isn't whimpering. He's chanting something under his breath, like a prayer. The woman in front grips her phone. Her eyes squeeze shut as a tear rolls down her cheek. Outside, the clouds are swirling into a massive vortex. At its center, I see the face again, clearer this time. It's not a single face anymore, but a composite, an amalgamation of thousands of smaller faces, all of them screaming silently. I turn my head and look at the other passengers. They are turning their heads. Slowly, in perfect unison, they pivot to face me. The smiles bloom on their faces. Lips curved 30 degrees, eyes wide and round, pupils like pinpricks. Identical. Over the roar of the diving plane and the sound of the screams, 200 identical smiles watch me in silence. I unbuckle my seatbelt and stand up. The flight attendant, Jessica, stands at the end of the aisle, smiling at me. I walk toward her. The plane shakes violently. I fall, scramble back up, and keep walking. Stop, she says, her voice as smooth and artificial as the PA system. Please return to your seat. This plane is going to crash. I yell. It crashes every time. I've said the words, and then something clamps down on my throat. Not a physical hand, but an invisible force crushing my windpipe. I gasp, but I can't draw a single breath. My vision begins to tunnel. I look around the cabin. The smiles on the passengers' faces are wider now. The scientist's mouth is stretched to his ears. The woman's lips have split, revealing her gums. And in Jessica's smile, I see her teeth growing longer, sharper. Suffocation. Darkness. Impact. 3. The third time, I stand up before we even take off. This plane is going to crash. I scream. Everyone, get off the plane. The passengers just stare at me, confused. Jessica walks briskly down the aisle, her smile fixed in place. Sir, please take your seat. We're about to depart. You don't understand. We've already crashed twice. This is the third time. Her smile vanishes. It's the first time I've seen her without it. Her face is a blank mask, devoid of all expression. Sir, her voice is ice. If you do not take your seat, we will be forced to restrain you. 2 male flight attendants appear, grabbing my arms. Their hands are like iron clamps, as cold as a corpse. Let me off. I struggle. Please. But the plane is already moving. They force me into my seat, strapping an extra belt over me, locking it tight. I watch the terminal recede through a blur of tears. The scientist gives me a pitying look. The pressure can be overwhelming, he says softly. I get like that sometimes when the research isn't going well. Your research is fake, I say, my voice hoarse. There's nothing in that briefcase. The color drains from his face. How did you know? The 4th time, I've learned to be quiet. I observe. I pull out the safety information card. Standard diagrams for emergency exits. Instructions for the life vest. But at the very bottom, in tiny, almost invisible print, is a single line. Please disregard recurring promises. Recurring promises? What does that mean? I look at the scientist. He promised to announce his cure when we land. The woman in front was going home to get married. A promise. The captain promised 30 years of safe flying. Every passenger seems to have some kind of promise, some expectation for what will happen after we land. After takeoff, I don't look out the window. I watch the other passengers. I notice details. The insurance guy across the aisle, checking his policy. His thumb keeps rubbing the beneficiary's name, Jamie, but the policy lists the gender as male. A contradiction. A man in the back wearing a hat pulled low over his eyes. He's holding a small photo of a little girl. Undercover agent, going home to his daughter? But I see a deep, pale scar on his wrist. It looks like he tried to kill himself. Jessica, the flight attendant. Every time she passes row 17, she deliberately avoids looking out my window. This time, the crash comes at a different moment, 55 minutes in, and the death is different. Not a nosedive, but a mid-air disintegration. I see a wing tear off, the cabin split in two, and I'm sucked out into the void. In the last second before I lose consciousness, I see the cross-section of the torn fuselage. It isn't metal. It looks like flesh, with things like blood vessels writhing inside. The fifth time, I decide to test the rules. I wait until the seatbelt sign is off, and I get up to go to the bathroom. Jessica immediately intercepts me. "Sir, please remain seated. We're expecting turbulence." "There's no turbulence. For your safety, let me pass, or I'll tell everyone the truth about this plane." She stops. The smile is still there, but her eyes are like chips of ice. "What truth do you know?" she asks softly. "I know we're going to die." Over and over again. A muscle in her cheek twitches. All flights carry a certain amount of risk. This isn't risk. It's a certainty. Tell me how to break the loop. She stares at me for a few long seconds. Then she says, "Complete your journey." What does that mean? Every journey has a destination. Reach yours, and you can get off the plane. She turns to leave, then looks back over her shoulder and adds in a barely audible whisper, "But be careful. Sometimes the destination is the starting point." I go in the bathroom and lock the door. In the mirror, my own face is pale and haunted, with dark circles under my eyes. I turn on the faucet. The water that comes out is the color of rust and smells faintly of blood. The mirror fogs over. I wipe it with my hand, and the face staring back isn't mine. It's a man in a pilot's uniform, but the uniform is tattered and his face is scarred with burns. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. He's mouthing a number. 3. 3? 3 what? The mirror returns to normal. I go back to my seat, my mind racing. This time, the crash comes without any warning. 1 second, we're flying smoothly. The next, we're dropping straight down. No pa announcement, no ochigen masks. In that instant, every passenger turns their head simultaneously and smiles at me. I stare at the scientist. Just before his smile is fully formed, I lunge and grab his briefcase. He lets out a shriek, not a human sound, but a high-pitched, metallic screech. I tear the briefcase open. Inside is a photograph of a little girl, about 10 years old, with a bright, sweet smile. On the back, someone has written, "My sweet Amelia, 2009 to 2019. The girl was already dead. She died of cancer." The scientist lunges at me, his fingers elongating into black, sharp talons. But before he can touch me, the plane hits the ground. 4. The 6th time. The 7th. The 8th. I'm becoming numb. Death is just part of the process now. Seatbelt sign, screams, weightlessness, smiles, impact. Sometimes it's fire, sometimes it's water. We crashed into the ocean once. Sometimes it's just pure darkness. I start taking notes. On the 9th loop, I discover the barf bag in the seat pocket works as paper. I don't have a pen, but I can bite my finger and write in blood. The words fade quickly, just like my memories reset with each loop, but for the brief moment they're there, I can remember. I discover the patterns. Saying the words, "The plane will crash," triggers an immediate death. My record so far is 5 minutes. Attempting to violently alter the course, like rushing the cockpit, also triggers an immediate death. With each loop, the glitches on the plane get a little worse. The glitches start with the passengers. Cracks appear in their stories. Their appearances change subtly. The whites of their eyes get larger. Their skin turns a little grayer. Then the glitches spread to the environment. The length of the cabin changes. The food is rotten. The view outside the window gets stuck. On the 11th loop, I decide to talk to every passenger with a story. I wait until we're at cruising altitude and go to the woman in a row ahead. "Can we talk?" I ask. Her eyes are red and swollen. She's obviously been crying. "About what?" "You said you're going home to get married, but your ring looks really old." She instinctively covers her left hand. It was my mother's." "Does your fiancé know that?" She's silent for a long time. Then, in a low voice, she says, "There is no fiancé." "What?" "There's no fiancé," she repeats, her voice hollow. "He died 3 years ago. Galaxido. I buy this ticket every year on this day to fly back and visit his grave. But every year the plane," she trails off. "It what?" "It never arrives." She looks up at me, and there's something in her eyes I recognize, the numbness that comes after dying too many times. I've been on this plane for 3 years. It always takes off. It never lands. My blood runs cold. You've noticed it too, haven't you? She grabs my wrist, her nails digging into my skin. The loop. Over and over. I've tried everything. You can't get off. You can't die for good. You just have to repeat it. How many? How many times do you remember? I ask. I can't count anymore. Dozens? Hundreds? The memories get blurry, but I remember the feeling, the hopelessness. She lets go of my wrist and gives a bitter smile. The worst part is, I'm starting to forget what he looked like. My fiancé. I just remember that I'm supposed to be going home to get married. I'm forgetting to who or why. She turns back around, and the conversation is over. I return to my seat, my heart pounding. So I'm not the only one. But why isn't she trying to change things like I am? Has she given up? Or is it because she's trapped by her own obsession? The 12th loop, I test this theory. After takeoff, I lean forward and say to her, your fiancé is waiting for you at the destination. Her head snaps around, her eyes wide. What? I said, he's waiting for you. This plane is going to land, and you're going to see him. A brilliant, radiant smile spreads across her face. The same uniform smile I see before every crash. The plane immediately begins to shake violently. 30 seconds later, we crash. The 13th loop, I try a different approach. Your fiancé wouldn't want you to be trapped here. This time, a look of pain crosses her face. The plane stays stable for much longer. We crash after 50 minutes. Obsession. The word rings in my mind. Every passenger has a powerful, unfulfilled obsession, and a plane feeds on it. If I reinforce the obsession, the plane is happy, and maybe the flight lasts longer. If I try to break the obsession, maybe it gets angry. The 14th time, I find the insurance man. He's counting a stack of policies. I see at least 20 of them, all for today's flight, all with different beneficiaries. You really believe in insurance, I say. He looks at me warily. Hedging my bets. I buy it every time I fly. Forgot today, but I managed to buy some just before boarding. The beneficiaries are all different. Diversifying the risk. Who's Jamie? The blood drains from his face. How do you know that name? It's on the policy, but the gender is listed as male. Isn't Jamie usually a woman's name? His hands start to shake. He looks around, then lowers his voice. She's my daughter. Or she was supposed to be. Supposed to be? My wife left me 5 years ago. Took our daughter with her. I can't find them. I buy these policies so that if the plane crashes, the money will find its way to them somehow. I know it's crazy, but he gave a sad smile. It's the only thing I can do for them. You fly a lot. Once a week. Same route. I buy the insurance, and I hope it crashes. He says this with a terrifyingly calm expression. But it never does. This plane always lands safely. Until today. What's different about today? Today, I forgot to buy the insurance. Just this once I thought it should be fine. He pauses looking at me. But now, I think today might be the day. Why? Because he leans in, his breath hot on my face, because today I actually wanted to land safely. The 15th loop? I test the obsession theory again. I find a man with a hat, the possible undercover agent. I ask him directly, how old is your daughter? He flinches. You. How do you know I have a daughter? The photo. You're always looking at a photo of a little girl. He hesitates, then pulls the photo from his pocket. She's a cute kid, maybe 5 years old. Her name is Lily. The last time I saw her, she was 1. He strokes the photo. I had to do some dangerous work. I couldn't see her. But it's over today. Today, I can finally go home. What kind of work? He says nothing. Dangerous enough to make you try to kill yourself? I ask, pointing at the scar on his wrist. He yanks his hand back. That's not what that is. It was an injury from the job. An undercover job? His pupil's contract. Who the hell are you? I'm someone trapped on this plane, just like you. Tell me the truth. Maybe we can get out. He stares at me for a long time, then says slowly, I'm not an agent. I'm a fugitive. My breath catches. 5 years ago, I messed up. It was an accident, but someone died. I ran, left my wife and my daughter behind. I've regretted it every single day. I want to turn myself in, but I'm afraid I'll never see my daughter again. He takes a deep breath. Today was my deadline. If this plane lands, I'm going to the police. If it doesn't, If it doesn't, he smiles, a bitter, broken thing. Then maybe that's the justice I deserve. I go back to my seat, my mind racing. Everyone has a contradictory obsession. The scientist wants to cure his daughter, but she's already dead. His research is meaningless. The woman wants to get married, but her fiancé is dead. The wedding can never happen. The insurance man wants the plane to crash to provide for his family, but he also wants it to land to escape his guilt. The fugitive wants to see his daughter, but feels he doesn't deserve to, and subconsciously wants the plane to crash as punishment. Every one of these obsessions is a paradox. They can never truly be resolved. In this plane, it feeds on that state of eternal, unfulfilled desire. The 16th loop, I make a decision. I'm not going to try to stop the crash anymore. I'm going to make it happen faster. Right after takeoff, I stand up and yell, "Everyone listen to me. Your hopes are all lies. Scientist, your daughter is dead. Chloe, your fiancé is dead. Insurance man, your family doesn't want to see you. Fugitive, your daughter has forgotten you." The cabin falls silent. Every passenger turns to look at me. But this time they aren't smiling. They're crying. Tears stream from 200 pairs of eyes, a silent, collective grief. Their faces are masks of pure sorrow, despair, and pain. The plane begins to shake violently. Outside the window, the clouds twist into weeping faces. A black, viscous liquid begins to seep from the walls of the cabin, like crude oil or congealed blood. Jessica walks down the aisle, her movements stiff and jerky, her joints clicking audibly. Her face is melting, dripping downward like a wax figure in the heat. Her voice is a layered echo. "You broke the rule." "What rule?" I shout back. "The rule about making everyone face the truth." "Hope," she says. "The rule is hope. As long as there is hope, the plane can fly. You took their hope away. It was false hope. False hope is still hope," she shrieks, her mouth splitting open to her ears. Inside, there's no tongue, only a mass of writhing black tentacles. The plane disintegrates, not from the outside, but from within. The passengers' bodies begin to crumble, turning to ash. Just before I disappear, I see thousands of photos of the little girl fluttering out of the scientist's briefcase, filling the cabin like snowflakes. Ash. Darkness. 5. Loops 17 through 30 are dedicated to a single goal: get into the cockpit. My first few attempts are failures. The moment I get near the cockpit door, the plane immediately crashes. No exceptions. The authorized personnel only sign on the door seems alive. When I stare at it, the letters twist to form the words, "Don't look." On the 21st loop, I try a new tactic. I pretend to faint in the aisle. When Jessica comes to check on me, I grab her wrist. Her bones are thin and delicate, like a bird's. "Take me to the captain," I whisper. I know he's not Frank Miller. Her eyes go wide. It's only the second time I've seen her show surprise. "What are you talking about?" "Captain Frank Miller, 30 years safe flying. But 30 years ago, a flight went missing. Same model, same route as this one." The captain's name was also Frank Miller. This was a detail I'd pieced together from a memory fragment in a previous loop. Just before a crash, I'd seen the corner of an old newspaper sticking out of the seat pocket. The headline was blurry, but I could make out the words "missing for 30 years. Jessica's lips tremble. She helps me to my feet and says to another flight attendant, "This passenger is feeling unwell." I'm taking him to the front to rest. She guides me toward the cockpit. The other passengers don't notice. They're lost in their own worlds. The scientist is muttering to himself. The woman is wiping away tears. The insurance man is counting his policies. The fugitive is staring at his photo. The cockpit door opens. 2 figures in pilot uniforms are sitting inside, but their posture is strange, rigid, unmoving. Jessica shoves me inside, and the door closes behind me. Now I see them clearly. They're mannequins. Exquisite, lifelike mannequins sitting in the pilot and co-pilot seats. The instrument panel is lit up, data scrolling across the screens. The control yoke moves slightly on its own, but the mannequin's hands aren't touching it. "It's on autopilot?" I ask. "It always is," Jessica's voice says from behind me. I turn around. Her face is obscured in the dim light. "Where's the real captain?" "There is no captain," she says. "This plane doesn't need a pilot. It has a will of its own." "What is it?" A container, she says softly. It collects unfinished wishes, unreachable destinations, unspoken words. Have you noticed what all the passengers have in common? They all have an obsession. More than that, they all have an almost. She walks to one of the mannequins and traces its plastic face. He almost cured his daughter. She was almost married. He was almost home. He almost atoned for his sins. Almost is the most powerful fuel in the world. This plane feeds on that energy. It flies forever, and it can never land because the moment it lands, the energy disappears. So it creates the loop to make the passengers experience almost over and over again. The passengers create the loop, she corrects me. Their own desperate longings have trapped them. The plane just provides the stage. It dawns on me. You were a passenger too, weren't you? She is silent for a very long time. I was a flight attendant on this flight. 30 years ago. Her voice is calm. I had a fiancé waiting for me at our destination. We had agreed that after this flight, I would quit my job and we would get married. But after we took off, I realized the engagement ring he gave me was fake. Glass, not a diamond. It wasn't about the money. It was that he had lied to me. So I wish that the plane would never land, she says with a bitter smile. That way, I would never have to face him, never have to face the lie. And when I made that wish, the plane answered. You became this. I became a part of the loop's maintenance. She nods. I guide the new passengers. I maintain their hope, and I maintain their despair. I am Jessica, the flight attendant, and I am the warden of this aircraft. How do I break it? I ask desperately. How do I get out? Fulfill an obsession, she says. But a real fulfillment, not a fake one. One passenger must truly let go, find peace, or have their wish granted. When that happens, the plane will be momentarily full and a tear will open. A tear, a way out, but it only lasts for a second. She pauses. The problem is, under the plane's influence, no one can ever truly fulfill their obsession. The plane's very existence reinforces their longing. It's a paradox. Like trying to fall asleep only makes you stay awake longer. Something like that. She looks at me. You're different. You're fighting back. But be careful. Fighting back can become its own obsession, the obsession to escape. And that will feed it too. A loud bang echoes from the cockpit door. Time's up, Jessica says. You have to go back. Remember this. Watch the safety card. With every loop, it reveals a little more of the truth. She opens the door and pushes me back into the main cabin. The plane is in a nosedive. This time, before we crash, I see that the passengers aren't smiling. They're staring at me. Their expression's a mixture of envy, resentment, and longing. They know I went to the cockpit. They know I'm looking for a way out, and they're still trapped. 6. Loops 31 to 50 are focused on the safety card. Jessica was right. It's changing. The changes are subtle, but they're there. The first version was standard. By loop 35, the fine print at the bottom had changed to, please disregard recurring promises, especially those you make to yourself. Those you make to yourself? What does that mean? Loop 40. A new line appears on the back. Emergency exit locations may vary. Please follow the sound of weeping. The sound of weeping? Loop 45. The instructions get weirder. If the flight attendant has more than 32 teeth, do not make eye contact. I look at Jessica. She happens to be walking by, and she smiles at me. I count. Her teeth look normal. 16 on top, 16 on bottom. But on the 50th loop, there's a major change. 20 minutes after takeoff, I pull out the safety card. This time, the entire card is different. The title isn't safety information. It's rules for survival. The contents are as follows. Do not speak of the destination. The plane has no destination. Any discussion of arrival will accelerate the fall. Do not complete the story. All passenger narratives must remain in a state of almost. Any attempt at resolution will trigger a penalty. Do not count the windows. The number of windows on the aircraft is not fixed. A definitive count will result in cognitive collapse. Believe one lie. Choose one passenger story. Believe it completely and hold that belief until the end of the loop to earn one exemption. The only way out. Convince the plane that all obsessions have been fulfilled simultaneously. In the moment of its satiation, jump from the 6th emergency exit into the sea of clouds. The 6th emergency exit? I look up. A standard passenger jet has two emergency exits over each wing and one at the front and back of each side. That's four main exits, maybe more depending on the model, but they're always in pairs. Where'd a sixth one be? Unless the cabin itself is changing. Loop 51. I decide to test rule number 4. Believe one lie. I choose the scientist. After takeoff, I strike up a conversation. Your research is going to succeed. His eyes light up. You really think so? I know so. You're going to cure cancer. You're going to save countless lives, including your daughter's. I say the lie. I know his daughter is dead, but I say she will be cured. His expression changes. It's not joy. It's peace. He opens his briefcase. This time, it isn't filled with blank pages or a photo. It's a thick notebook filled with complex formulas and data. Thank you, he whispers. You're the first person who's believed me. The plane flies smoothly for an unprecedented amount of time, 1 hour and 20 minutes. But the other passengers are growing agitated. The woman, Chloe, keeps checking her watch. The insurance man, Mark, tears up his policy. The fugitive, Leo, starts banging his head against the seat in front of him. Jessica rushes over to me. You've upset the balance, she hisses. One person's hope is too strong. The despair of the others will lash out. As she says it, the plane begins to shake violently. It's not a crash. It's some kind of internal explosion. A fire starts at the back of the plane and spreads rapidly. The scientist clutches his notebook, smiling peacefully as the flames engulf him. Before I suffocate, I see him mouth one word to me. Continue. Loop 55. I try to make multiple passengers believe at once. To Chloe, I say, he's going to marry you. He's been waiting for you all along. To Mark, the insurance man, your family has forgiven you. To Leo, the fugitive, your daughter loves you, no matter what. A brief look of peace settles on all their faces. The plane becomes as smooth as if it were gliding on ice. Outside the window, I see land for the first time. Mountains, rivers, cities. Are we about to land? No, the cities are upside down. Buildings hang from the sky. Cars drive on the ceiling of the world. I realize it's a reflection in the clouds, but we're also flying upside down. The cabin begins to spin. The centrifugal force pins the passengers to their seats, but their expressions are serene. Jessica stumbles down the aisle, yelling at me over the roar. It's too much. You gave it too much. What do you mean? The plane is too full. It's going to vomit. Vomit? And then I understand. The plane begins to come apart, but not violently. It's more like an excretion. The walls become soft and translucent. The clouds outside flow in, carrying everything away. The passengers are expelled from cracks in the fuselage like digested waste. I grab onto my seat, but my fingers sink into the soft material. Just before I'm completely erased, I see it. The sixth emergency exit. It appears in the center of the cabin floor. A circular hatch labeled 6. Beyond it isn't the sky, but a swirling, multicolored vortex. But it's too late. The clouds swallow me. 7. I've lost count. My memories are blurring. Sometimes I wake up and I've forgotten the last few loops, remembering only fragments. The face in the clouds, the identical smiles, the melting mannequin, the sixth exit. But I remember one number, 204. I don't know why. The number 204 is burned into my brain. Is it the total number of loops? The number of loops I have left? Or something else? I become numb. Death is routine. I can count down to the crash. 10 seconds until the smiles appear, 5 seconds until the oxygen masks drop, 3 seconds until the engines cut out, 1 second until. Sometimes I just sit through a loop and do nothing, just watching the repeating clouds outside my window, waiting for the end. Sometimes I conduct frantic experiments. I've stabbed my own hand with a dinner fork. The wound has gone next loop. Tried to dismantle my seat. The screws never come loose. And even tried kissing the scientist next to me before a crash. He just looked surprised. Then the plane crashed ahead of schedule. I'm going insane. I can feel it. The line between reality and hallucination is dissolving. I see passengers who aren't there, hear announcements that aren't made, smell smoke when there is no fire. But insanity brings a new perspective. Around the 100th loop, I have an epiphany. I've been trying to find a logical, rational solution. But maybe this problem isn't rational. The plane itself is an irrational entity. It feeds on obsession, which is a product of emotion, not logic. Maybe I have to fight emotion, with the strongest, most primal, most insane emotion I can muster. Loop 101. I try rage. After takeoff, I stand up and I just scream. Not at the passengers. At the plane itself. I know you can hear me. I roar. You coward. You parasite. You're too scared to face a real landing, a real ending. All you can do is trap these poor souls and feed on their misery. Come on. Face me. The cabin shudders. The lights flicker. The passengers stare at me in terror. Outside the window, the clouds coalesce into that giant, composite face I'd seen before. It opens its mouth. No sound comes out, but I feel a powerful psychic blast. It isn't pain. It's sorrow. An infinite, crushing sadness. I collapse into my seat, tears streaming down my face. They are my tears. They're the plane's tears, somehow channeled through me. I sob uncontrollably for 10 minutes, right up until the moment we crash. Loop 120. I try love. I tell every passenger, I love you. The scientist, the woman, the insurance man, the fugitive Jessica, all of them. Not romantic love, but a kind of compassionate, sorrowful love. I hug the scientist. I pat the woman's back. I shake the insurance man's hand. I nod to the fugitive. I smile at Jessica. Their reactions vary. The scientist is confused. The woman weeps. The insurance man recoils. The fugitive is suspicious. And Jessica, she cries. Real tears, not melting wax. The plane becomes preternaturally calm. Outside the window, a beautiful sunset appears, streaks of gold and purple. We fly for 2 hours without a single glitch. Then Jessica comes to me. She kneels in the aisle next to my seat. You have to be careful, she whispers. What? The plane is feeding on your love. It's going to get stronger, greedier. You've given it a new kind of food. Love is food. All strong emotion is food. She takes my hand. For the first time, it's warm. But you gave it something it's never tasted before. Selfless love. Love that asks for nothing in return. This might change it. Change it. The plane begins to glow. Not the cabin lights, but the very walls themselves are emitting a soft, white light. The passengers' faces become peaceful. They start talking to each other, sharing snacks like strangers on a normal flight. We fly for 3 hours. A coastline appears outside the window. A real, normal coastline. Are we actually going to land? The PA clicks on. It's the captain's voice, but it's clear and real this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning our final descent. Please fasten your seatbelts. Hope swells in my chest. But in the last second, just before the wheels touch the ground, everything resets. I'm back in my seat 10 minutes before takeoff. This time, Jessica isn't in the cabin. The flight attendants are all strangers with stiff smiles. The scientist doesn't recognize me. The woman has no wedding ring. The insurance man has no policy. The fugitive has no photo. Everything has been reset, but more thoroughly this time. My love was consumed and then erased. 8. Loop 200. I've almost given up. I just sit there waiting. The scientist tries to talk to me. I ignore him. The woman is crying. I ignore her. The insurance man is counting his policies. I close my eyes. Jessica is back, or rather, a flight attendant who looks like Jessica. But I know it's not her. I count this one's teeth. There are 34. I avoid her gaze. The plane crashes, as usual. Loop 201. I notice a small detail. Just before the crash, when all the passengers turn and smile, one person doesn't. It's an old man, sitting in the corner of the very last row. I've never noticed him before. He's been reading a newspaper the whole time. The date on the paper is 30 years ago. He doesn't smile. He doesn't cry. He doesn't do anything. He just exists. Loop 202. I go and sit next to him. Can you see me? I ask. He slowly looks up. His eyes are milky white. He has no pupils. I can't see anyone, he says. I can't even see myself. Who are you? I was the first. He puts down his newspaper. The headline is now perfectly clear. Flight AX404 vanishes without a trace. All 247 on board presumed dead. 30 years ago, he continues, I was a passenger on this flight. It wasn't like this then. It was just a normal plane. We flew into a storm, and we crashed. We all died. But you're here now. Because I didn't accept it, he says with a sad smile. I refused to believe I was dead. I believed with all my heart that the plane had landed safely, that I went home and saw my family. My obsession was so strong that it rebuilt this space from the wreckage of death. Then the other dead souls were drawn to it with their obsessions. And then came the living, people like you, pulled in when the conditions are right. The living. When a flight has enough stories of almost on board, this plane manifests and absorbs it. He turns his blind eyes toward me. You're not the first living person to end up here. You won't be the last. How do I get out? Fulfill an obsession. A real fulfillment. But the problem is, under the plane's influence, a real fulfillment means. He trails off. It means what? It means letting go, he says. Completely abandoning that obsession. Admitting that it can never happen. And then moving on. I am silent. Let go of my obsession to escape? But then would I even want to get out? It's a paradox, the old man says. To want to leave, you have to stop wanting to leave. Just like to fall asleep, you have to stop trying to fall asleep. So there's no solution. There's one way. He lowers his voice. A deception. You make the plane believe that all the obsessions have been fulfilled at once. In the brief moment that it's full and drops its guard, you escape. But that moment is fleeting in what? And you need a lure. One obsession, so powerful and so seemingly fulfilled that it draws all of the plane's attention. His milky eyes seem to bore into me. Someone has to willingly be that lure. And the fate of the lure is to be trapped here forever, becoming a part of the plane itself. I understand. A sacrifice is required. Loop 203. I find Jessica, the real Jessica. She still appears sometimes in the cracks between the loops. Is what the old man said true? I ask. She nods. It's true. A sacrifice is needed. And the one who makes it becomes like me, a permanent fixture of the loop. Were you a volunteer? No, she shakes her head. I was chosen. The plane chose me because I gave up fighting. But you can choose to sacrifice someone else or to sacrifice yourself. I think for a long time. Then I ask, if I sacrifice myself, can the others get out? All of them. All the living passengers. The dead, they're already dead. This place is just an echo of their obsessions. She pauses. But the living can leave. They can go back to their normal lives and forget any of this ever happened. Including you? Including me. She smiles, a genuine, gentle smile. If you succeed, the loop will break. I'll be gone. Truly gone. I'll be at peace. During the crash of the 203rd loop, I feel no fear. I feel a strange sense of calm. 9. The last time. I know it's the last time because when I wake up, I see the number on my watch face, 204. It's not the time. It's a counter, etched into the glass. I take a deep breath and begin my plan. After takeoff, I go to each of the key passengers. To the scientist. Your research was a success. Your daughter didn't die. You cured her. She's alive and happy right now. To Chloe. He's waiting for you. There was no car crash, no death. He's at the airport right now, holding a ring. To Mark, the insurance man. Your family found you. They forgive you. They love you. And they're waiting for you to come home. To Leo, the fugitive. You turned yourself in. You served your time. Your daughter is waiting for you at the gate. She never forgot you. For every passenger, I weave a perfect, complete ending. I describe the details, the emotions, the life they would have after their dream came true. A light I have never seen before shines on their faces. A true, pure joy. The cabin begins to change. The walls become transparent, revealing a brilliant river of stars outside. The seats soften into clouds. The air fills with the scent of flowers. The plane is full. I can feel it vibrating, not with the shudder of a crash, but with a deep, contented purr, like a predator that has just eaten its fill and is settling down for a nap. This is the moment. I run to the center of the cabin. The floor is splitting open. The 6th emergency exit appears, the hatch marked 6, a swirling, colored vortex on the other side. But I don't jump. I turn, and I find the one man I haven't spoken to yet, the shy man in 15C who, in every loop, tries and fails to confess his feelings to the girl next to him. He's been in love with her for 10 years. This flight was his last chance. I grab the intercom phone from a flight attendant station. To the young woman in seat 15D, I say into the receiver, my voice echoing through the cabin. The man in 15C wants you to know that he loves you. He's loved you since the first day he met you, 10 years ago. He was always too scared to say it, because he didn't want to lose you as a friend. But he wants to say it now. He loves you, not because he expects anything in return, but just because he wants you to be happy. Whatever your answer is, he'll accept it. The cabin is silent. The man in 15C is staring at me, his face beet red. The girl in 15D turns to look at him, tears welling in her eyes. And then she smiles. You idiot. I love you too. For 10 years. The plane lurches violently. Not a purr of contentment. This is a jolt of surprise. I realize my mistake. I had created false fulfillments. But this one was real. In that one moment, with everyone watching, after a decade of waiting, they had truly, genuinely fulfilled their obsession. The plane had just tasted a real, complete meal. Not a false fullness, but a true saturation. The cabin begins to dissolve, not into destruction, but into bloom. The walls open like flower petals. The seats turn into fluttering butterflies. A soft light emanates from the passengers' bodies. They are disappearing, but their faces are blissful. The scientist clutches his briefcase, smiling as he fades into motes of light. The woman holds an invisible ring, tears of joy on her cheeks. The insurance man rips his last policy to shreds. The fugitive takes off his hat. Jessica walks over to me and gives me a hug. Thank you. I have to jump, I say. The exit is closing. The sixth exit is shrinking, the vortex inside spinning faster and faster. Go, she says, letting go of me. Live. Remember us, and then forget us. I run to the exit and leap. The colored vortex swallows me whole. I am spinning, falling, not down, but in every direction at once. I see flashes of images. The scientist holding his healthy daughter, the woman smiling in a wedding dress, the insurance man embracing his family, the fugitive holding his daughter's hand, the shy man and the girl sharing a kiss. And then nothing. 10. I wake up to a world of pain. The smell of antiseptic. A white ceiling. The steady drip of an N4 bag. I try to turn my head. My entire body is wrapped in bandages like a mummy. Outside the window is a city I don't recognize, filled with skyscrapers. The door opens. A nurse comes in, sees my open eyes, gasps, and runs out. Doctors come. Reporters come. Police come. They tell me I'm a miracle. The miracle of Flight AX-404. The flight that vanished 3 years ago. The wreckage was discovered yesterday in a remote mountain range. There were no survivors. Except for one me. They found me in the wreckage, every bone in my body broken, but alive. How did you survive? A reporter asks. I jumped, I say, before it crashed. They don't believe me, but they have no other explanation. The news is everywhere. The sole survivor. Aviation's greatest mystery. Man returns after 3 years missing. I look at the list of the deceased. 247 names. I read them one by one. Frank Miller, captain. Jessica Allen, flight attendant. Dier Ben Carter, scientist. Chloe Vance, fiancé. Mark Davis, insurance agent. Leo Stanton, fugitive. Alex Chun, the boy who was secretly in love. Mia Lee, the girl he loved. For every name, I can see a face, a story. The day I'm discharged, the sunlight is blinding. I'm standing outside the hospital, waiting for a cab. A TV in a nearby electronics store is playing a news segment, showing the photos of the victims. Black and white headshots, grim expressions. But as I watch, the photos begin to change. The corner of Captain Miller's mouth turns up in a slight smile. Jessica winks. The faint outline of a little girl appears in Dr. Carter's arms. A glint of light appears on Chloe's ring finger. Mark Davis is holding a handful of confetti instead of paper. Leo's hat is gone. The photos of Alex and Mia slowly slide next to each other. They're smiling. All of them smiling at me. A taxi pulls up. The driver rolls down the window. Where to, pal? I take one last look at the TV. The photos are all back to normal. Where to? The driver asks again. I was going to say home, but then I realize I don't have one. In that other world, I had no family, no friends, no obsession to fulfill. Except for one. The obsession to escape. I get into the cab and shut the door. The airport, I say. Buy a ticket. Anywhere. The driver looks at me in the rearview mirror. Just got out of the hospital and you're already flying? Yeah, I say, looking out the window as the city recedes and the clouds gather. I've got a flight to catch. The voice of the news anchor drifts from the electronics store, the last sentence carried on the wind. Experts say the survivor is likely suffering from post-traumatic stress, resulting in confused memories. He insists, however, that the plane is still flying forever, waiting for the next flight filled with unfinished stories. I close my eyes. I know it's not full yet, and my obsession is enough to keep it flying for another 30 years. The taxi speeds toward the airport. Overhead, a plane cuts across the sky, leaving a long, white trail. Slowly, the trail of clouds begins to twist, forming the faint outline of a face. It's smiling. End.